Jeremy here from Randolph Running Club, and I'm here today to talk to you guys about the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. So as you saw there in that intro video, I've done all kind of runs in this shoe. I'm at about 40 miles in this one. So I finally have the opportunity to kind of share my thoughts on it and, just talk a little bit more about what I like, what I don't like about the shoe in relation to other shoes that I've ran in the past, right? So as always, let's get started straight away with the specs of the shoe. So straight from Saucony, what we've got here is, Endorphin Speed 4 is kind of like their speed shoe. It's a training partner to the Endorphin Pro line. So kind of a tempo shoe, if you will, but still kind of erring on that daily trainer, but it is plated. So the weight comes in at 8.3 ounces in the US men's size 9. You've got a heel stack height of 38 millimeters and a forefoot stack of 30 millimeters. So your heel to toe offset is 8 millimeters, so pretty standard for Saucony, but a relatively high stack height, all things considered. And then your midsole is Power Run PB, so this is kind of like their, nice PBA based cushioning, very responsive, lightweight. You've got a sock liner, so it has a gusseted tongue, which gives you a really nice lock-in. A nylon winged plate. So the Pro edition of this shoe would have a full carbon plate, but this one, being the training partner and kind of a cheaper alternative, right, has a nylon plate instead. And then you get XT900 rubber for your outsole and a complete mesh upper. So, running down those specs for you, it's pretty standard fare, definitely. I will say, I've run in, I think, the second and third versions of this shoe. So even though I'm a little bit late to the party here on the review for number 4, I do have quite a lot of experience with various Sauconys. I've also run in the Endorphin Pro 1 as well. So wow, maybe I really like these. I don't know. Anywho, let's talk through that first initial step-in feel, the comfort of the shoe, right? So I think the really big thing with a shoe like this is you want to have that nice lockdown, because it's a shoe that you're going to be running fast in. You're going to be doing speed work, potentially racing in it. So for me, as soon as I put my foot in this shoe, I thought, wow, and maybe it's because I haven't run in a lot of racing shoes recently, but the lockdown just felt amazing. It felt so light on my foot, that upper, but it felt tight in a good way, almost like wearing a sock. I know that's kind of like a tired cliche with running gear and whatnot, sock-like fit, right? What does that really mean? But I think that's the best way to describe this. It just felt very form-fitting. It felt like it had a great lockdown, no slippage at all, just walking around, kind of getting acclimated with the shoe, jogging in place, doing some little stretching and things like that. So I think really, as soon as you put your foot in there, great feeling, right? And you notice immediately how light the shoe is. I personally felt like, after coming from the Nike Vomero 18 and running in some various Hokas and other shoes like that, this shoe just immediately felt, well, sock-like. It felt like just a natural extension of my foot and almost like nothing was there. But what you do notice is there is that immediate step-in feel and just the plushness of that Power Run PB foam. I think Saucony really does a great job with this type of foam here. It just has a great step in, good cushion. This is a shoe that honestly I could walk around in all day and not feel any fatigue. And I'm pretty sure once I'm kind of done running with these, I think these are probably going to end up turning into kind of a nice casual dad shoe, if you will. I think one thing that I really enjoy about them too is my daily driver car is actually a manual transmission. And sometimes with some of these really high stack height shoes, I can't really work the clutch very well because that feel of the bite point of the clutch of that car is just not really there. And with these, you get the protection, you get that good feeling and the nice responsive foam, but I felt like there was enough ground feel, if you will, so that I could even still operate the clutch and not really feel like I'm, in trouble. And that's really important to me because sometimes when I drive to races and whatnot, I'm in my manual transmission car and I don't want to bring 10 pairs of shoes just so that I can commute to and from the race and whatnot. I just want to wear the one pair. So I thought that was huge. You see there's a ton of rubber coverage, so that always bodes well. The shoe felt grippy, just immediately walking around, super comfortable. But I think the big things I'm always looking for is how does that upper feel? How does that cushioning feel? So let's move on to the on the run feel, right? So this is really what it's all about. It's not a walking shoe. It's something that you're going to want to run in, want to race in. And I can tell you, I've done all type of miles in this thing. Everything from just easy miles. I've done runs with my dog. Making sure that he gets his exercise in because we're trying to be fit for the summer and whatever. And on top of that, I've even taken these to a race. I did my first race since Chicago Marathon last year. So, it's been quite some time, 6, 7, 8 months almost, I don't know. But moral of the story, I've taken them through every type of pace that these type of shoes are designed for, right? Easy runs, workouts with some fast miles, but then also some easy sessions or easy portions of those runs, and then full on race pace, competing in anger in these shoes, right? And what I'll say is, I think with the Endorphin 3, it felt like Saucony had kind of morphed the shoe more to be like a daily trainer, if you will. The shoe felt a little bit more plush, but not as poppy. You didn't get that spring at the toe off. And I would say weight-wise, comparable. I recall that shoe not feeling like super heavy or anything, but as soon as I slipped my foot into this one, it felt like just a more springy, more propulsive shoe. I immediately felt like, wow, I'm running, 20 seconds per mile faster or something, but the effort doesn't feel as strong compared to some of these other daily trainers that I've run in. And that's what you want to feel in a shoe like this. You want it to make you feel kind of invincible. You want it to make you feel like, if you go out there and things are hard for you during that race, this isn't going to be the thing holding you back. If anything, you feel like you're going into battle and you got, all your armor on and everything's good, and you have something that's kind of giving you something back. And that's really the big thing that I like about this foam that they have there in the midsole of Power Run PB. I definitely feel like with each step, I'm getting something in return. I'm getting that propulsion. I'm getting that energy return. And they tote this shoe as having, the speed roll technology, right? So kind of a rocker. And I definitely felt that. I felt like, as somebody who's primarily kind of a midfoot striker, heel to midfoot, I would say I'm getting that complete roll, rocker motion going through in each step, right? And that's something that you really want. It's something that kind of helps you, works with your natural gait, with your natural, foot strike. And at least for me, I definitely thought that was, phenomenal. And I think going back to that upper, just feeling that good lockdown, I didn't feel like I had to really crank the laces. I'm wearing my regular size 13 that I typically would wear, and the shoe just felt great, no heel slip. I didn't have to, like I mentioned, crank down on the laces to get that good, feeling around my foot. And just anytime I put this on, I knew I was going to have a good day. I knew I was going to be able to run fast. But what I do also like about the shoe is, on an easy day or in a tempo session where you might have some easy miles thrown in, during warm-up, cool down, or something like that, I found that the shoe could handle any type of pace. I took this shoe on an 8-mile run at a pretty mundane pace for me, and I didn't feel like I was lacking. I would say probably the only critique I have on a run longer like that, where you're on your feet for an extended period of time, is, at least for me as a guy who, I'm 6'4", 6'5", I weigh like maybe 220, 215 pounds, depends, right? Weight kind of fluctuates, but at the end of the day, I think for me as like a heavier runner, when I was on my feet in this shoe for an hour 15, hour and a half, you definitely start to feel it bottom out a little bit towards those longer runs. I don't think this would be a problem for a person who, weighs under 200 pounds maybe, but for me personally, that would be the only reason why I wouldn't want to take the shoe to maybe like a marathon distance. But I would say even half marathon, I could see myself racing in this shoe. I think this could be a shoe that I train in and go all the way to the race in. And I thought it performed really well. When I did my 5K, just because it was my first race in a while, I haven't really been doing a ton of speed work. I kind of treated the race more as like a tempo workout, if you will. I was definitely putting the effort in there, but I don't think I gave it my all. I definitely didn't want to be in the pain cave too bad that day. But what I found was, the shoe definitely, like I mentioned before, it gave me something back. I was able to maintain the paces, and honestly, I think the biggest thing too was my goal was to start the run at kind of comfortably hard pace and ease into something faster. And when it was time to, drop into the 6:45 mile range there at the end, I was really working hard. I was able to rely on the shoe even on tired legs. So can't give enough praise to this as a speed shoe, as something that you could potentially race in. If you're looking for just one shoe to kind of do it all, I think Saucony really knocked it out of the park here. So let's talk about the durability of the shoe. I'll hold it up here to the camera so you can kind of see all this rubber on the outsole protecting that sweet peep of foam there at the bottom. But as you can see, hopefully that's in focus, this shoe is holding up really well. The exposed foam so far after the 40 miles, that's kind of in the midsole, I don't really see it wearing down. I actually see the same pattern and kind of like graining and stuff that it had the first time that I took it out of the box, which is a good sign. It is starting to turn a little bit yellow, but I think that's just part of the course for these type of foams, if I'm being completely honest. But the rubber has not broken down at all, really. And if my past experience with the Endorphin line is anything to go by, these are some of the most durable speed shoes that I've come in contact with personally. I think I ran the Endorphin Speed 3 to over 300 miles. And like I mentioned, I weigh over 200 pounds, like I'm a bigger guy. And I still had, the foam still felt like it had pop, still was protecting me on those efforts. I still felt like I was getting that energy return that I would expect from a shoe. Maybe not as good as when it was brand new, but there were other shoes I was reviewing at the same time, and I was thinking, if I'm doing a speed day, I still might pick these over the other ones. I do like to donate my shoes when they still have some life in them, so I don't run them completely into the ground, but I don't see a reason why you couldn't easily get 300, 400 miles out of this pair and still feel pretty good about it and be able to take it to a race if you want to, or just delegate it into easier shoe, but the shoe will still be around and not just kind of disintegrate on you, which I think is always a good sign, right? Because you're getting good value for your money. So lastly, that's a great segue into the value of the shoe. I think we're all price conscious, especially, you don't know where the economy might be going and everything. So I think, this shoe at $169, if I'm not mistaken. Let's check that. But yeah, yep, $169.95, Runner's Warehouse. Not sponsored by them, but hey, let's throw them out there. But anywho, yeah, I think that's a pretty good price for a shoe like this. It's an interesting spot because I think when you start talking about these tempo shoes that have plates in them and stuff, there's not a ton of competition because it's almost like a super trainer. You start to get into that super trainer range where those shoes have the insane stack height and they might have a plate or might not, but those shoes end up being over 200 bucks sometimes. I'm thinking like that big Hoka, I think it's like the Cielo or whatever, the crazy stack height, the Asics Super Blast of the world. Brooks has their like Hyperion PB, and there's shoes like that, right? That they start to be $190, $200, maybe more. And I think this one for $170, you're getting a plate. Maybe it's not a carbon plate, but you're still getting a poppy shoe, a peppy shoe that you can run quickly in and can do different types of runs for you, right? It can kind of fill the void of multiple shoes. So I don't think that's a bad value. Would I like it to be cheaper? Of course. I think running shoes have gotten kind of expensive, but I think the value for what you're getting is still a strong and compelling case. And I think definitely if you're going to a 2-3 shoe lineup, right? This one kind of is that middle ground. Maybe you want a shoe that's a proper recovery shoe. So maybe you want a Hoka Bondi, like the Nike Vomero that I reviewed, right? But I think this shoe perfectly bridges the gap between something like that and your race day shoe. But if maybe, you're out there, you're running, you want to have a good time, but you don't want to spend 250 bucks, 300 bucks on a race shoe, I think you could go with this and maybe have that as like a 2-shoe solution, right? So a proper easy day shoe and then something like this. So I think the value for money is still pretty strong, especially in comparison to some of the contemporaries of this shoe. So with that being said, would I buy the shoe again? Definitely. I think I've proven that because I've run, like I mentioned, the Endorphin Pro 1. I did Chicago Marathon in that shoe the first time in 2021. I've run in the Endorphin Speed 3. Now I've got the 4. So, I clearly, Saucony, you're doing something right. You've been doing something right from the beginning, and it's shown, because a lot of runners enjoy these shoes, I believe, and I have personally enjoyed them. So yeah, I would totally buy it again. And I think, if you're looking for your next speed shoe, you're looking for a cheaper race day shoe that can cover a multitude of distances, right? Like from 5K up to a half marathon. And if you're a lighter person, maybe even a full, I think you should do it. So yeah, with that in mind, drop a like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment if you like this video or you just want to have a discussion. It always helps the channel. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me and just, watching to this point in the video, and all your contributions here to make the channel what it is today. So yeah, I'll be back soon. Thank you so much. And as always, run fast and run strong. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take it easy.